I would like to focus in my presentation on some future opportunities as it comes to monitoring of media pluralism. And let me to start with this wonderful quote from Hannah Arendt's book on human condition, where she writes, only where things can be seen by many in a variety of aspects without changing their identity so that those who are gathered around them, they know they see sameness in utter diversity, can worldly reality truly and reliably appear. And I think this speaks very much for why we need to receive and perceive the outer world in a diversity, because only then we can truly experience it. I would like to share with you three perspectives on the opportunities for future monitoring of media pluralism. And I think that Elda already presented very well the situation in Europe and the way how it was measured. What I think we perhaps need in these days is also to include into that a global perspective. It's because certain trends which we can observe in Europe are multiplied also in other parts of the world. And certain risks and threats to media pluralism which were actually detected in MPM are happening also in other places. Now, to share with you the global perspective, I would like to discuss UNESCO World Trends in Freedom of Expression Media Development Report, which was basically prepared in 2013 and 2014 by UNESCO, and media pluralism was involved in that as one of the dimensions studied. Pluralism was actually understood as basically a matter of economic ownership and control at the first place. So you can see how important economic dimension was for UNESCO in including this monitoring, but also diversity of journalistic content, and it considered actually all media platforms. The interesting thing also about this is that UNESCO had a very inclusive approach to understanding pluralistic media. Actually, pluralistic media were seen as those that could effectively communicate and also represent all possible groups in society, also including local communities. So without that inclusiveness, it's very hard to speak about media pluralism. Now, let's have a look on some findings from the report. First, the report showed that worldwide access to media has expanded rapidly, which perhaps does not surprise us, because we could have expected it, having in mind, very rapid development of the internet and also mobile technologies. But at the same time, study also argues that there is a trend towards increased concentration in media ownership, something which we observed also in Europe. And here, there are specific regions of concerns for UNESCO, Africa, in terms of, concentration in the radio sector, and Central and Eastern Europe, about which we already spoke here, The report also shows a lack of progress in supporting independent, that's very important when we speak about public service media, independent public service media, with some exception, So the problem with strengthening the position of independent and autonomous public service media is everywhere, And the report also finds out that community media have achieved greater legal recognition, but have continued to face the problems with sustainability, So there is not really alternative in the third sector. Now, the interesting paradox was actually, I would call it like a global paradox observed in the UNESCO study. On the one hand, we could see the rise of new global news broadcasters worldwide, along with new global platforms, including, such broadcasters for the global news like Al Jazeera, CCTV, Chinese, and some of the others. But this has not displaced actually the economic position of major global media companies. And here we can look at the list of largest 15 media companies in the world, according to Independent Institute for Media and Communications Policies in Germany. And you see that 11 of them are companies based in the US, 2 are European companies, so only from Germany, Bertelsmann and Vivendi in France, and 2 Asian, Sony from Japan and Tencent Holdings from China. And this speaks also about, the concentration of media businesses. Now, the second point I want to make in this short presentation is about the necessity of a link between supply and demand side of media pluralism when we speak about understanding the issue, monitoring the issue, and some future considerations. Media pluralism, of course, can be seen from supply side as a potential diversity which is out there in a media space for us as users to consume. Yeah? So this can be really a great of diverse product services which we can select and choose from. But now the question is, do we really use that potential as users? Or to what extent do we use it? How much do we use it? Is it really something that is used fully? And this kind of diversity, exposure diversity, so pluralism as used, has widely been really difficult to tackle in media policies, yeah? Or unapproachable or missing even, yeah? I think that monitoring could actually bridge these two dimensions of media pluralism where structural developments can be, to a certain extent, compared with the trends in media use. And I will share with you now two studies that bring some information that you can understand why is it really important to also refer to media use, not only to understand some structural developments of media markets in the case of pluralism. These are the freshly published Reuters Institute digital news reports from this year. And the reason why I'm mentioning it, because the report actually shows some new tendencies in the use of news sources, so where we are looking for the news, basically. And the report shows that there is increasing importance of social media, in particular Facebook, as a source of the news, yeah, as a one could say gateway for accessing the news. 51% of users use social media as a source of news each week, yeah, the report shows. And for 12% of users, social media is the most important source for the news. No other kind of content but the news, yeah. Now, television news basically still remains quite important for all the groups of population, but it's continued to decline. And the second study which I would like to mention here is a study which was conducted in Poland, News Diversity in Poland from the user's perspective, that has very similar, actually, aim to understand how users use diversity of news, but it included also some other questions about the use, not only the diversity of sources themselves. And the interesting thing about it is that if we compare, for instance, Media Pluralism Monitor and the results of that study, we can find some problem areas really resonate. Yeah? So there is some kind of reflection in these two. And we can learn much more also adding this dimension to it. Now, here we could see that the diversity of news sources was quite satisfactory because most actually respondents in the study, more than 70%, declared that they use at least 7 sources of the news quite frequently. So 7 is quite, big number, impressive. But the study also revealed 3 deep gaps. First is digital exclusion of elderly. Yeah? Elderly people, 60 plus, they do not use internet as a source of the news at all. Yeah? Quite a large percentage I'm speaking here about. And that's a problem, because then we have, big divide between younger generation that actually access news from Facebook and the older generation using only television, yeah? The second issue is marginalization of the press, also in online form, yeah? Also in online form, and dominance of traditional TV broadcasters in news provision, yeah? Which actually also reflects a very strong concentration on the market itself. And finally, lack of media knowledge that was actually mentioned by users themselves. They declared, we don't know enough about the media, especially as it comes to ownership and financing of the media, which is a serious problem, and this has to do with media transparency. Yeah? The last issue I would like to mention, it's that monitoring should be regular and comparative. Elda already mentioned that. I think it's really about seeing some trends, and if we like to see, some long-term trend and, test whether it's true or not, this should stand the test of time. So there is a lot of sense in actually continuing media pluralism monitor and understanding, the credibility of the results in a longer period of time. Now, I'm mentioning this because I think that we can find also a certain link to current work on Audiovisual Media Services Directive, which is going on, and also the need to collect more data on development of audiovisual markets, audiovisual landscapes, which are, broader, longer. And we know that, there is a big debate now about the new project of the directive, especially about, inclusion of video sharing platforms in that. And that all comes from, the data, from the research, from understanding how actually young people now use the content itself. And I think there's a lot of space for using also media pluralism monitor results in connection with Recital 4, for instance, of the new project of the directive, which actually encourages also member states to collect the data. And plus, I would like to also mention here quite important aspect in the Audiovisual Media Service Directive, which is the recognition of independence and also autonomy of national regulatory agencies in order to actually empower them in terms of monitoring, collection of data, and cooperation also with other bodies. This is final sentence from me. I think that media pluralism, including these three new dimensions, can really contribute to the shift in media policies more towards a media user's perspective, because I think we need it to really understand threats and risks in media pluralism. Yeah.